Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, people on YouTube, and welcome back to William in Japan. Today you join me on a finally somewhat not hot day on the beautiful Thruxton Final Edition. We had a very hot summer this year, very similar to those in Europe are experiencing, but it's roughly 40 degrees in the past months, and I really don't want to go out for a leisure ride on a 1200cc machine like the Thruxton in such heat. So finally, it's a bit colder today. I had the chance to bring it out and enjoy the roads in Chiba. Let's find a place to overtake first. So today's topic will be a bit random for this channel. Usually we talk about the countryside, the roads, and also riding in Japan in general. However, as an expat that had studied here, lived here for all my adult life for the past 16 years, gaining my permanent residency 5 years, 6 years back already, 6 or 7 actually. In the past 18 months, Japan has changed a lot. This is not really about politics. It's more about advice for those, especially younger people in their early 20s or even in their teens, in their 18, 19 years old, thinking about moving to Japan and making a life here. So in the past, we're talking when I first got here 16 years ago, Japan has struggled with depopulation, and they still are struggling with that issue even till this day. So they started in bringing a lot more foreign students and foreign labor. I jumped on the bandwagon, came to Japan and stayed ever since. 2 jobs in my second company right now. And thankfully, I chose the right industry, which pushed me roughly to the top 3 to 5% in terms of tax and pension contribution. Why am I mentioning this? Is not because I want to brag, but it's to make a point that I am basically not being affected by the new policies done by the Takaichi government. Japan is always, and still is frankly, a good place if you want to have a stable life. You won't be getting like very, very high wages. You won't have an incredible global career here, but you will have good stable rent, low mortgage rates, and also very, very nice grocery expenses. So it is a good place to come, and that's why I see the appeal for so many people from across the world that wants to move to Japan and thinks Japan is a great place to live in. However, I'm trying to say that's not the case anymore. Japan, after Takaichi became the prime minister, has been strengthening the policies against foreign immigrants. Now, if you want to become a permanent resident, it has been announced, I think, last week, you basically need to be a top bracket earner. The later you come to this country, the higher the wage you have to make in order to qualify for your permanent residency. It's still very bland and unclear what the policy will be, because what the immigration office has just announced is you need to prove that you can contribute to the pension system like someone who has paid for 30 years. Yeah, who knows what that will become. Maybe the earlier you come, the younger you are, the better chance you can get a permanent residency. Or it'll be a hard ceiling or hard floor of how much you earn in order to qualify for a PR application. But not just that. they had increased so much for the visa renewal fees, application fees for PR itself, and also they had been cracking down on company owner visas, which for the last one I completely understand. It was way too lacking or way too loose in the past, but it became way too strict in my opinion. This is again personal opinion over here. With the new legislation, there has been multiple reports of people having to leave the country for living here for over 2 decades. Children were born here, never left Japan, were educated here, basically Japanese, although they don't look Japanese, now have to return to the home country because their parents are no longer eligible for company owner visas. The biggest that has been affected were restaurant owners. It is impossible to meet the current new legislation if you're just a restaurant owner, to be frank. So yeah, that has happened. So if you are young, looking into moving to Japan and make a career here, please put these points and think very hard in your head if you can make it or not. First of all, are you willing to learn the language? You cannot have a strong career here if you're starting from zero, if you don't speak and write good Japanese. There's just no way around it, unfortunately. Second is, how long are you going to commit here? If you're really looking to make Japan your forever home, you will need to prove that you are one heck of a talent, whatever industry you are, because there will be very, very high requirements in terms of your wage. Roughly, I think at least, you need to make 6 to 7 million yen annually. For your reference, an annual household income, household, not single, household income in Japan is roughly 4.4 to 4.3 million yen. You need to almost earn more than 50% of an average Japanese family in order to make a living here anymore. Sorry, not a living, but make it your forever home here. As I mentioned, I luckily had cleared that a few years ago. But if you are coming here, let's say as a English teacher, working in a cram school on a contract base job, think again. If that's only what you can do, you're basically only to be here roughly 3 years. That's maximum what you're going to get out of it. Once you finish your first term, 3 to 5 years of your visa, it will be extremely hard for you to renew your visa because of the fees and also because of the requirements of they are looking at right now. Frankly, you might not even qualify for renewal. I have seen multiple friends being rejected visas and are now moving home. And they are in their mid-30s already. It's not like they are not here only for 2 to 3 years. They have been here for almost a decade. And finally, can you deal with the culture? This isn't really about policy, it's just about the country itself. Japan may look beautiful from outside, but living here is a very different story. Are you willing to blend in? Again, are you willing to learn the language and blend in with the culture? Will be a huge issue if you want this, well, if you want to call Japan as your forever home, basically. If you are willing to do that, sure. Japan still is, as I mentioned, a very stable economy as for now. Inflation is not as extreme, and mortgage rates, rent is always pretty cheap compared with other countries. But if you want a career, like I was speaking, a global career, and you just want to move to Asia, Tokyo should not be your first choice anymore. To be very frank with you. Oh, I always miss this red light. Singapore, if you're looking to work at a global company or a regional APAC role, Singapore is definitely the better choice. Also, if you want to work in finance, if you want to work in insurance, again, Singapore is your first choice. Also in consulting as well. Maybe Hong Kong, Shanghai will still be a choice, but it has dropped off in the past 5 to 6 years. Singapore definitely is top one right now. Maybe Seoul, if you're willing to learn Korean and also understand and blend into the Korean culture, which is extremely conservative, just like Japan. And if you're all willing to do that, hey, Tokyo, Seoul is still one of your choices. But if you're just young, you haven't been thinking about this very thoroughly, please do think again. Japan's a great place to visit for a holiday, for a vacation. It is no longer a great place to live in. And it has seen way too many people fail, and basically because of the depreciating yen, lose all of their saving because they change it to the local currency, earn the local currency for 2 to 3 years, and in the end, when they change it back to, let's say, US dollars or Canadian dollars or euros, pounds, it shrank 30%, 40%. It's not a good choice anymore. So those were my 2 cents. Again, this is not about politics. This is not about if it's the truth or not. It's just what I felt in the past 18 months. Japan has changed a lot. Even myself am thinking to reallocate to somewhere. Again, Singapore will be very high on the list. And who knows? It might not be willing in Japan anymore in 3 to 5 years. Well, that's all the rambling I have today. Sorry for a bit of a rant. This has been William. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.